up on today's show, Flory Models members visited RAF Valley in Wales last week, so we'll be having a look at that. Star Destroyer Part 7, we'll be running through exactly how that's coming together and what to look forward to in this week's part. Airfix Red Arrows, this is the special which is going to be part of the show, that'll be up later on the show, Part 2. It's only a 15-minute segment of it, we're going to break them down into sort of quarters to show about bringing them on together. This week's review is the Italeri Osprey, quite an old kit, been reboxed and modernised a little bit. We're having a look at exactly what's gone on there. The 4th annual Egg Hunt stroke SIG Build came to an end last week, so we'll be looking at all your great work in there. Plus we've got all the news from the forum, the SIGs, the group builds and everything else. Hello, welcome to Flory Models, I'm Philip Flory. Well, last week, what can we say? Absolutely fantastic time last Thursday. We were at RAF Valley. Quite a long drive for myself, Sid even further, because Sid came to here, then we drove up, and it was a nice 6.5 hour drive from here in the southwest to up to Anglesey, which is the northwest tip of Wales. It's the bit just on the very top. That's where our RAF Valley is. We drove up the afternoon before, stayed up overnight, and then we spent the full day on the actual base as well, being taken around by Ian and Neil as well. So what can we say? Absolutely fantastic day. Great for all the members to be there and everything else. We saw everything basically. We had a fantastic briefing. I have to look at my notes because I can't remember everybody's name. But we had a briefing to start with from Dave Williams. He basically talked us through exactly what happens at RAF Valley, all the different units, the areas and everything else like that. We had some great cakes. Thank you to Neil's wife for doing all of those. They're absolutely lovely. And then basically we went off around the base, if you can imagine. So we started off with, we went into the survival equipment, so that's all the parachutes. We saw the parachutes being packed into the head boxes, which, let's face it, it's a massive job to get them in there. You wouldn't believe how much fits in the head box. Slightly different with the RAF seats to other countries and things like that. The parachutes all go in the header box. And everything else. Then we saw all the survival equipment and everything else like that, and obviously all the inflatable stuff and the gear, the little boats they sit in if they go in the water, immersion suits, stuff like that, all the gear they wear, helmets, all those different bits and pieces. And then we basically made our way around the base to all the different areas. Now I'm going to put all of this up on the site this afternoon. You would have had it this afternoon, and it will be a full thing. So the guys have kindly let me use their photos as well. My video, to be honest, didn't come out as brilliantly as I would have hoped for. There's a lot of thing when you're trying to do it by hand and you're talking to people at the same time and you want to see yourself, it's pretty much impossible. So I'm going to put the video up, but it's not brilliant, but certainly the photos and that you guys took are absolutely stunning. So loads of reference stuff. So we made our way around the Hawks, so we were off into the T1 hangar. Got lots of them down here at the moment, so we basically free reign, do what you like in there. It's absolutely fantastic. So we saw all the bits that are completely wrong with all the kits, which is great. And everything else, and certainly getting up and personal and hands-on with all the aircraft and getting into some real, unique places. Like for one, I've never stood in a Hawk engine bay before and had a chat with people, something a little bit different and everything else. And then obviously we went on to the more high-tech stuff, the latest T2 Hawks. We got shown around all of those. It's like Willy Wonka's factory, because each different building's got different areas for the maintenance and the engines and everything else like that. And it's certainly more like CSI than traditional mechanics with that type of thing. Very high tech, very clean, very, very nice. Nice to see that some money being invested in that area of it, certainly. But as I say, we had an amazing day. I've got a list of people to thank. We have to thank Bob for taking us around the T1s, everything. Ian Blackie especially, because he arranged everything for us and he works on them as well, and everything else like that. Neil's wife, Neil's with 208 Squadron. He's the weapons instructor pilot for them. He took us around as well, answering all our really boring questions probably and everything else like that he probably gets a million times a day, but it's all new to us, so it's great to speak to him about it. Vortex rings, yeah, and all those types of things, so it's great to be like that. But then we got into basically 4 squadrons domain, and we were basically in their flight line, in their little area where the crews go out to the jets. So we had all the jets lined up in front of us and everything else like that. Basically, as you can imagine, quite an exciting day. Loads and loads of reference photos by everybody who took them and everything else, and the video. So as I said, I'm going to have a separate area in the site. I was going to do a sort of video montage, but to be honest, your photos are better than my video, okay? So it's not like last time when we've done other base visits and I sort of did a video of it. This one was slightly different. So I'm going to put up, and it will be free for everyone to see, with all the different information and all your photos and everything else in there, which I'm going to do, to be honest, later this afternoon. So it'll be up on the site for Friday, ready for the new show as you see this today. But needless to say, a massive thank you to everybody who went, all the members who went as well. So it's great to see you guys as usual and everything else, and it's nice sort of feeling and spirit. And hopefully we'll be up there again very, very soon, because I did enjoy it. It was a long old drive, but certainly well worth it, apart from coming back on the M5 and finding out that most of it was shut. That's what you get for driving at 2 o'clock in the morning coming home. Anyway, as I said, great stuff, great everybody. Thoroughly enjoyed it. We're going to have to arrange a lot more of these. Speaking of which, of these things that are going on, I just mentioned it again, the Flory Models barbecue is later on in the summer. We've moved the week forward, and RANS Yeovilton's air show is on the same day, which has put a bit of a spanner in the works for us, because obviously I can't go because I've got to arrange it all and everything else like that. So I don't know if any of you guys going as well. So what we're probably going to do is find somewhere else to go. So I'm thinking perhaps the Helicopter Museum at Weston-super-Mare, because that's only a couple of hours from here, or maybe somewhere else. And then obviously we're on about doing Bovington Tank Museum on the Sunday, and things like that. But anyway, that's later on in July. I think it's the 25th, 26th. Sorry, my computer is down at the moment over there. But I think it's the 26th or 27th or 26th or whatever. But anyway, it's that weekend of July, so that'll be our next major all get together. Certainly the barbecue will be here, we'll all be done by then, and everything else. So there we go. Okay, next up, which we're going to do first, Hawks or whatever. Thanks for all the feedback on the Hawks. Working on the Red Arrows Hawks. There's going to be a part of this in this show a little bit later on, where we're going to have the next part of this one up. Certainly thanks for all the feedback, all the information and everything else. To be honest guys, I've probably got all the references I need for doing the Hawks and everything else like that. Because of its scale, obviously there's no going to be any super detailing or anything else. It's a straightforward out of the box build, going to be on a mount and everything else. So obviously we're going to have the 10 in-flight display like that. So pretty much got it all covered. So anyway, that part will be up later on. Really enjoying it though, it's quite nice. So all those people asking me recently about what's the small little quick build you're doing, that's them. I'm just having to be doing 10 of them. Instead of doing one small 1/72, I'm going to do 10 of them. So that was the sort of joke with that one. Next up, we've got the Star Destroyer. So as you can imagine, working our way through this one. As you can see, what's really nice about this now is you can throw this round and it's absolutely fine, and it's not falling apart, and you can juggle it and everything else, so without the risk of it all coming apart. And I keep plugging it in every now and again to make sure it's still working. So anyway, part 7 of this is up on the site now. Basically in this part we talk about all the electronics. You'll see it, we have different camera angles for this one. We have it all laid out with the electronics to see. We test, plug it in, do all the bits. We've put in some stronger mounting points for obviously this thing when it's on its stand, and certainly for the power supply going in so it doesn't push through. And we talk about power, how the electrics are going to work. To be honest, it's all tucked away at the moment and things like that. So really moving on with this one now. And to be honest, I'm going to paint the Hawks and this all this week. That's the point. I've got all my gloss reds have just come in, so I'm going to be doing all the Hawks, get them glossed up and everything else. So we'll be doing video on that one. That'll be next week's show, you can see. And then the Star Destroyer this week is going to be all about the painting, which to me is the best bit. I love all this type of work. So we're going to break it down into various ways of doing it, showing it, weathering it, washing it, all those different things, and then we get it mounted up onto its stand, and we can do even more detailing work. So I haven't finished with the detailing of this yet. We've still got a little bit to do. I've got this forward sensor array to do, so I'm going to super detail that. I've got a little bit of work to do around the back to super detail that, but I can do that when it's painted as well, because I can just mask off a square and do that area to re-blow it in and all those areas. So that's the thing with that one. So still loads to come on this one, and certainly it weighs a ton and it's looking very impressive. So we are enjoying that one at the moment. So next up then, we're going to have a look. We're going to go back now and we're going to have a look at the Hawks, see how this little kit goes together. Okay, so pushed on quite a bit. As you might be able to see, we've got them all around here in various states. So nose wheel door has gone on, obviously no problems at all with that, it's a great fit. We've gone around, some of these we've actually used quite a bit of filler, some of them we haven't. Obviously it's personal to whichever ones they are. Find one without so much filler in. This one has obviously got quite a bit. Usual thing, sometimes it's easier to bite the bullet and stick a little bit of filler in than it is to mess around as you go round. So we've sanded and sort of, tapered in and everything else everything, so the intakes are all nicely, and now we've got no seam lines down the bottom, around the rear end, at the top. Remember to do the little box at the back, because this one here I haven't done yet, so you can see you get a little bit of a step there, versus we've got one here we have done. It's those little touches, because with little scale things, if you get joins, they look massive. Something on, you know, if we're dealing with a bigger one like we've got here, you don't really notice it, okay? But certainly if you're doing it on something so small, the little details look massive, okay? So we've gone around, tapered up, no problem at all. Big thing is, and what I'm pointing out to you here, you might be able to see various things down here. I've got pegs on and clamps and everything else. Is this instrument combing that goes over the back, okay? Because they either fit in, no problem at all, okay, or they're going to fight you all the way. Now that's a good one. This one fits in, no problem. This one over here, I do believe, make sure we get the right one. You may be able to see, okay, it gets a little step and it comes up. Now the thing we have to remember, this has to be perfect, because we've got the clear glass parts going to go on here in one fit. So if you have got a step hanging up, it's going to be a little bit of a nightmare. Now the reason for that step is, if you don't put the instrument panel in perfect, okay, and it's right to the floor, then it's not going to go. If it's slightly at an angle or something else like that, it's going to cause you a headache and it is not going to fit, because these inner areas you might be able to see just down here, these guys line up with these ones in here, and obviously if they have different heights, it's going to step up. So a quick little trick to this is to nip off a little bit of this inner part here, just like that, okay, and then we can just do the same again on the other side. Okay, and the other thing as well, the little instrument panel, I take a slice out of the top, because it is such a complete fit that now you may be able to see that fits in there, no problem at all. Okay, so what I tend to be doing is coming along, brush each side, lots of glue down in there, okay, and then we've been popping a peg. Okay, make sure it all sits in there and it's got hold of it, and then that way you have no step up there at all, because as I say, if you do have that step, it's going to cause problems. So as you can see, lots of these ones in different states having it. Some of them just need a little nudge, but that was literally, it's my fault, it's not the kit's. It's where, as I say, it's just that little bit of height difference. So sometimes even if it's thickness of paint, stuff like that, the tolerances are a little bit tight under here. So if you've got a little one, you can literally just put it on and hold it. Good example here, I put a little bit of filler. This is that nasty one. We have this join on here, so you might be able to see. We've got a little bit of filler just on this top bit, just to make them nice and everything else. So what we're going to do, we're going to put these little fins in, and we're going to put the speed brake as closed. We can put the tail planes on. That is the model completed, okay? So then all we've got to do is worry next about the pilot figure. They need to be painted, okay? And then we've got to mask up the canopy and put the canopy in and all those areas like that. And we're going to do a little bit of cheat with the canopy. Technically, the inner seal that everybody seems to think, which is this creamy coloured guy that I've got around here, which after being with some hawks today, I've noticed that it's the wrong colour. Okay, you might be able to see there. That is on the inside. These ones I think we're going to do on the outside, because it will just be easier than to mess around and try and get them all in. But these canopies all need, these instrument combings need to be dry and fixed in, otherwise if they're not, they're going to slightly lift again. So we're going to let those go off, but in the meantime we can actually put these speed brake ones closed. These little fins, guys down here, are going to go in. Obviously check your angles, make sure they're at the correct angles. Mark one eyeball is a lot better than anything else, so just have a look at it, line it up, look at your references. There is some great little things down here, okay, saying about 25 degrees. So again, get it down there, have a look, roughly work out, make sure it's the same as what you've got here. Okay, so obviously you get a good idea of exactly how it's going to run. Once those are in, we can start to really push forward with this one, because then we can put a little bit of black paint around for the actual instrument panel itself. That's completed. We can get the pilot figure in and we get the canopies on, all masked up, ready for painting, and then we can get going. We're going to paint these black, which I know seems a little bit odd, but want it to have that real deep red luster to it. So if you need a deep colour, put down black first every time. Doesn't matter if you're using a metallizer paint and anything else, unless you're going to be doing grey or what, you know, white paint, obviously you wouldn't do it. But if you want a deep colour, then obviously a black base is the best you can get, because that'll just give you a nice depth of colour right the way through. And I want these to look absolutely stunning, obviously on their plinths and everything else. So that's what we're going to do. So let these fit, get these tail ones in, everything else like that, and then we can push on. Okay, so we'll grab this one here. We've put in these the ventral fins down at the back, and obviously we've got the speed brake closed, as you can see down there. No real problems with that. You might get a little bit of a gap. To be honest, I just put a little bit more extra thin in when you saw the gap and welded it up that way. You can see you've got the belly diesel tank down here. Again, it's not perfect fit, but I wouldn't call it a problem. A little bit of sanding takes care of that, and then perhaps you need a little bit more at the front. You get the height difference. Again, using the extra thin as a weld action glue or any hot action glue, you can get pretty much a seamless area down there, no problem at all. Okay, so that is all in there. So a couple of things we've done. We've put the tail planes on, obviously. I've glued them into position because they're a right pain, they kept falling off. So for what we're going to be doing with glossing work, as we're going to show you anyway, we're going to hand gloss these for the clear coat over the top, so that's where 90% of all that gloss work is going to be. So really, my main concern about having the tail on was getting in there to not get the vortex effect, but I don't think we're going to have too much of a problem with that one. So the crew, and how well the camera picks these little guys up. Okay, let's just drop this top one down, see what we can get. Okay, right, okay, I know it's not perfect, but that is because this is a generic Airfix figure, and quite frankly, they are not very good. It tends to be the standard RAF sort of helmet pilot figure. I don't think they're pretty much like anything like current ones or anything else. So he's just there with his hands on his laps. So all I did was did the white work first, working with the lightest colour, went round and I did his gloves and the helmet. After that, I went round with the green and we did his survival equipment and his G-suit. Okay, put those on. Then we did black boots, black visor for the helmet, all in flat. We also did a little red arrow on the top of the helmet, hopefully you can see like that. Okay, and that was it. And then literally a little bit of the ink wash, we used the lighter one and just gave it a wash right the way over the top. Now I know he's not in a pristine red overall and everything else, but this is a scale effect thing. I don't want him to look like, for want of a better word, an Airfix figure in there. I want to make it a little bit realistic. So we got this guy, and you can probably see him. He's sat in here like this. Okay, unfortunately the visor is in the up position, so we sort of recreated that, and he's just got a simple hand done red arrow on the top, but I think it's good enough for what we're going to need, because when you come along with a canopy and put him on, by the time he's got the framing and the bits in there and everything else, personally I think he's sitting way too high, but you can't actually do anything about that, because unless you're going to cut a lump out of his bum and drop him down, and then his legs aren't going to go in through the actual well and everything else, so it's going to be a real headache. So we're going to leave him as he is, because this is a sort of an out of the box build, and the canopy fits on there nice and snug, nice clean fit across the top, and I think he's going to be okay. You know, you can see him in there, you'll be able to get the idea with the helmet and everything else like it. So perhaps a little bit over job doing his boots and stuff, but it's purely for effect. Now, one of the things whilst we're talking about it, we've got here at the top, as you can see, the det cord or the detonation cord. Now this is how the canopy works. It doesn't explode and fly off. This explodes all the glass, the plexiglass in there gets frosted out, then they go through it. That's the idea with it, okay, instead of the actual canopy completely coming off. Now, I thought originally this wasn't scribed, okay, I thought it was just in the plastic, okay, to put this through, or raised or something else like that. When I had a proper closer look at it, it is in fact recessed, which means we can do our old friendly techniques, as you can see them down here, which we'll explain them in a moment, of using the grey wash here. Okay, this is just simple grey wash, so it's the 007 one. It used to be called concrete, but it's basically the same thing. What you can do is put this in. Now it is a little bit slippy down here, and for reasons I'll explain in a minute, it has had a couple of coats. So all we do, we grab the wash just like this, okay, onto a brush, and then we just brush it in, and as you can see it goes in all those recesses very nicely like that. And then this has had two coats in here now in this particular one. I'll just touch it up, push it around a little bit more, because I'm finding one, it tends to be such a fine detail, it's not getting in there totally, okay. So by putting in the secondary one, we have no problem. And then you just take cotton bud, wet it, not tons, just a little bit, okay, and then you can literally just come along and give it a rub. Okay, it's a little bit wet in there, so we're just going to dry it down. Down all those sides. Nice little clean up, and as you can see, we have the deck cord now in there, which is absolutely great. All right, so I thought that was going to be a problem, but now no more. Now you could use the whitewash if you haven't got the grey, or you can just make up a mix with a little bit of black and the white to make your own one up, but that is so much easier than it would be doing any other way. So now what we can actually do is fix this to our canopy. Okay, so we're just going to make sure it's all in there nicely. Okay, so we're just having a look around it, making sure it all fits in there. Okay, and we're all happy how it's going to sit, and I am actually. That's really, really nice. Now, usual thing, use a PVA glue. Certainly don't use super glue. Okay, so if you can, where's my one gone? What you want is some of this type of stuff. This is the crystal clear one. If we just move that top cam out. Okay, so what you can actually do, the easiest way to do this one is you can either put it into position, hold it on, and then run the glue round, or you can put a little bit in first. So it is personal choice. So just before we pop this one in, I've just got a little bit of cloth. We're just going to give this a rebuff in here, just to make sure we got all the clay off of any areas. So we're looking to, it's not crystal clear these, but it's certainly close enough for what we need. All right, so what you can do, grab your cocktail stick. Okay, and what I tend to do is we're just going to roll it around the back, and we're going to do the areas that really count. So we're just going to do the front, don't want too much, and we're going to do a little bit on the sides. Obviously if you have too much, what's going to happen is it's just going to squirt up and it's going to go absolutely everywhere. So by putting a minimal amount, hopefully you won't get that problem. So once that's on, you can come along. So that's it for our cockpit. We're really happy how that is. Okay, we're just going to seat that on. Going to give it a push, make sure it's down, and we're happy, and it is in the correct area. Now I don't know if I can get a peg over this. Well, perhaps we will actually. We get a peg over the front, that's for certain. Okay. Or you can use a rubber band or whatever you want to do to lock this in, or you can use a clamp, which my horrible clamps I don't like to use, but in this case it may just do what we want, or probably not. No, it's got it. Okay, so that's on there, and then what we're going to do, little old trick, we just get some, pop it on the top, smaller brush, a little bit of water. So I've just got some normal plain tap water here, a few drops, mix it. So you want something to look like milk, just make sure it's well mixed in here. Okay, as you can see. Now if it's too thin, you can either add to it or let it stand and thicken up. Okay, but what you don't want is big lumps in here. Alright, and then all we're going to do is take this thin stuff and we're going to brush it into all the gaps, and what you'll notice is the capillary action will pick up this up and it will go with it. And it's got a little bit of gap filling capabilities. So you sort of pick it up, go all the way around. Okay, if you've got any extra bits, just give it a bit of a rub and they'll melt in. Okay, now what you do, just dry your brush off just a little bit, okay, and then travel round with it and you'll soak off all the excess whilst leaving, or hopefully, the majority of it in the gaps. As I say, don't worry too much about little things like, giving the clean off, you might be able to see we've got a white area down the front here. Okay, it's just because there isn't enough gap. This will dry crystal clear, so you won't see that, so don't worry, hence its name. Okay, same with this one down here, and you've got a little bit of going on down here. I think we're going to absolutely fine with those. All right, So what you're going to do now is leave that to one side and let it go completely dry, preferably overnight, something else like that. When it's completely gone off, you can have a good look at it. Now, if you don't like it, you can just get in there, pull it off because it's PVA glue, clean it up, which is dead easy because it just rolls off in your hand, and then that way you can then reset and do it all again. If you are happy with it, then we can just simply put some thicker masking tape. So we got here, this is the Tamiya 40mm stuff, over it completely in one scribe round with a knife, sharp knife, to actually then mask it all off, and it's all ready to paint. But because it's a closed canopy, we need to actually see it first. A lot of the times I will do this first, then glue it on. But with this one, I don't want to be in the situation where it's all completely finished, we peel it off and notice we got a fog or a smear, big bit of dust or something else in there. At least this way we're absolutely fine with what we got, so we can let it get on with it. So I've just got to do another 9 of these and we're good to go. Still to come on Flory Models. Review time, we're going to be looking at the Italeri V-22 Osprey, the 1/48th Reeboks kit. SIGs and Group Builds news, obviously we're going to be looking at the silver screen, the Royal Navy Fleet Air Arm SIG and the upcoming SIGs and Group Builds. Egg time, the 4th annual Egg Plane Stroke Anything You Like build finished last week, so we're going to be looking at all your entries into that with a reveal video. And we've got one of your great builds in photo format at the end of the show. Okay then, so the Osprey, to be honest, I think it's going to be one of these sort of iconic aircraft that's going to sort of be around with us for a long time, and I think I say that in the review. Now, as I said, really Italeri are the only one in the 1/48 scale kit that's out there at the moment. So certainly, you are in a hole when you're doing it. It's quite an old kit. So anyway, let's have a look. Okay, review time. Something slightly different, certainly a blast from the past. This is Iteleri's V-22 Osprey 1/48 scale. Now, back history a little bit. Obviously, revolutionary design, something new. It's like a Chinook on steroids, but it's all manoeuvring and everything else. Needless to say, there was lots of problems with this aircraft during development. So much so, it obviously took a long time to become operational in its present guise as it is now. Last few years, been seeing around the UK as well, absolutely fantastic. But it took so long that the prototype for it was the mainstay of Iteleri's kit range. What they've done now is they've sort of reboxed it and done a few little tweaks to it to bring it up to the modern standard. Now, if this is exactly like the modern standard, I'm not sure. Haven't had a look around firsthand at the real thing yet. Limited references on it and things like that, but certainly if you want to do an Osprey on 1/48 scale, this is the only option you've got. If you're thinking 1/72, on the other hand, Hasegawa have released a 72nd version of it, which apparently is absolutely fantastic, all singing, all dancing. So, usual thing, Italeri, quite a flimsy little box, but you do get some nice sort of artwork on it and everything else like that. It's kit number 2622, running through usual thing, you just get some measurements, a little bit of blurb, not much to be honest going on the box. Seems to be a new way of doing it, but you get a little photo of the sprue layout, the decals, things like that. Same again on that side. Now, this is totally new to me. And I haven't even opened the box yet, so we can have a look in here. So in the box we get, as I say, it's a flimsy box, but quite frankly it does the trick. Okay, so straight away in here we've got some a correction sheet, something we'll have a look at in a moment, I think. If we pop this to one side, seeing as we've got them in the hand, let's have a look at the decals first. So immediately the first thing you notice, there is no protector sheet on this one, which is a little bit odd, but there we go, that's the decals. They don't look too bad. Nice, they're very matted back, which is quite nice. It's probably on a par with using a normal flat coat, which obviously these are going to be flat. It's the marine ones obviously, so limited things there, but what they've done, they've managed to put the these are the ones for the blades, I do believe, round the wrong way. So instead of being white to the outside, red in the middle, on the actual ones they've done here, they've done them round the wrong way. But anyway, personally, I'd probably paint those on, but certainly it's a nice touch that they've actually had the thing to say, okay, it's wrong, we're going to correct it. Okay, the sheets, they too tend to be a little bit weird. So usual things you can imagine, we've got the parts call-outs and everything else down here. I think you use all of them. All the colour call-outs are either FS numbers or the actual Model Master range. So as we can imagine, Usual thing, straight in with the cockpit, things we're almost helicopter form, and obviously the interior. It's basic but practical. You could liven this up if you wanted to. Clear parts going on to the inside of the fuselage, pretty much a standard. Okay, then we've got the ramps for the rear, so you can either have it as a one piece with it closed or two piece with it open at the back, which is a nice touch. Again, a couple of scoops and various things going on, which are probably new to this particular version of the kit. Hydraulic ramps stand at the bottom and showing you how they go in at the top. The all-important upper wing area, which is, this is obviously movable and everything else. The other thing as well, you have to remember, it can rotate through basically 90 degrees to be in the stowed configuration, which is quite a nice touch, because obviously then if you want to, you could fold all the blades up and have it on a ship and go through it all like that. Got the usual thing up here, so we've got the engine nauticals, obviously the front end, those big old blades that are going to be on there, some limited detail going on those. Again, something perhaps you could scratch build up and do, but some nice little scooping and differences, and I think that's probably one area where this kit is different to the old one. Okay, a few more little fences going in on there, okay, as I go through, and you can position the engines obviously in the up position, which is its standard landing configuration, rather than being forward. But if you were doing in flight, obviously you could put it on a pole, some little acrylic rod, have it in flight, be a little bit different. Nice touch. So you got a one-piece canopy for the rear, which is a lovely touch because it saves all that messing around. So you can mask it all up and then fit it in there. It's absolutely lovely. Tail system with the tail planes going on. Obviously the blades then slot it into the actual these hub area, if you like, as they go through and in there. And then onto the back side. As you can imagine, the gear going on, some of the sensors, and a few of the lumps and bumps and the aerials all going on there. Same with the main gear as well. Everything in, and for the front, which is obviously bringing it more up to date with all the various sensors. Limited paint, but let's face it, they are all like that. So really you've got light gold and dark gold greys over this one. They're saying ghost grey. I'm sure it was gold grey. Sorry, yes, ghost grey. I'm thinking of gold grey. I'm thinking of the older stuff, the more creamy. So ghost grey, which is the standard US Navy colours for this type of thing, and marine colours as well. And right the way through, they do have those very nice markings up onto their blades as well, which really makes this particular aircraft. Again, on a blank sheet at the back. So, not a mass fan of their instructions with the Italeri, but you know, they do serve the purpose and they're very nice. So, what do we get? Fortunately, you get one giant bag of bits, just like this. And as I say, I've never opened it. If you haven't seen an Osprey before, just think Chinook size. A little bit smaller perhaps than a Chinook, but in that ballpark. So we've got the clear parts, which we'll look at in a moment. Just have that one out of the way. So, obviously we start off with the big bit first, if I can get it out. So in here we've actually got your main fuselage. So you've got here all raised detail, so there's no recessed detail, which gives you a clue of how old this kit is. Okay, so but what you have got is obviously it's all raised riveting, which I'm not sure if it is that raised riveting all over this one. I would have thought it would be more composites than anything else, but certainly it is all raised detail right the way through. So you've got an option, you can rescribe it, obviously go right the way through it. You could then think to yourself, right, okay, well look, I'm going to live with it, and you can dry brush up raised detail, which is a little technique I used to do a long time ago now, but you can actually dry brush. It takes a long time, well worth it. You can bring all those details to life, no problem. You can use a wash and back wash it in reverse, so actually you go against the grain, so to speak, and leave the wash built up on the sides, which give a similar effect to it as you go right the way through. But it does give you an idea of the age of this thing, and I'm looking at to see if I can see any dates anywhere. But you have got some nice detail texture in the back, which obviously will bring it all to life as you go right the way through. We have got some ejector pin marks. Again, it's showing its age from the kit. If we twist it a little bit, you can probably see down here in this area and generally in. Ejector pin marks on the inside all seem to be recessed in there, which is quite nice. And as I say, some of the lumps and bumps on here, I don't know how practical they are to today's machine. Cockpit for the internal detail, as you can imagine, is pretty well non-existent. Okay, but it gives you an idea of how big this is going to be. So with the tail on it as well, it's going to be about there. It's going to be around about 35 centimetres for the kit itself. Okay, so upper wing, you've got these vortex generators to obviously give better over the wing, surface area of the wing and everything else like that. So they're all in there. Again, it's all raised detail absolutely everywhere on this kit. So unfortunately, you can probably see down here some of this plumbing and the actual bays and everything. Probably be better to rescribe it and do it all like that. This is the these giant cones for the top of the main rotors, for the rotor heads and the rotor heads themselves. And then you've obviously got the blades. Again, they're recessed. Personally, I'd sand them completely out and start afresh. But generally, it's all there. Okay, internals. We got this. Yeah, these are the insides. So you've got the seats all up in the stowed position. Not quite sure what those are actually. Something to do with the back end of the engine. The inside of the blades, because obviously it's a two-part sandwich or laminate blade system. Okay. Again, you've got the beginnings of some nice detail inside these main wheel wells. You've got ejector pin marks inside the doors. Unfortunately, you're going to have to do something with that. You've got these fences, which are quite nicely detailed. Okay, right the way through. Windscreen wipers, obviously aerials, lumps and bumps, as you can imagine. Looks like the FLIR camera unit down there and everything else. Okay, and then we've got the refueling probe, which quite frankly is nasty. There's no detail to that at all. You might want to do an aftermarket job, or probably easier way is to make one, or certainly just the end point itself, because it's pretty naff that. Okay. Yeah, I think what we're trying to get over with this particular kit is you've got all the basics to make a great kit. Now this will depend on if you ever want to make the time, because you just know by the time you've spent 6 months scratch building this and making it into a stunning kit that's accurate and everything else like that, and then Trumpeter or Hobby Boss or somebody will just release one. And that was the bit where it makes you cry. No weight on wheels, as you can imagine, pretty standard down there. Again, raised detail. It'd be interesting to know. I'm going to have to do some research on this and have a look at it. But I shouldn't imagine it's got all this raised riveting detail everywhere on this. I imagine being a modern aircraft, it's going to be weight saving and it'll be composites and things like that, rather than using standard metal and rivet system of doing everything. But as I said, it's all here. The detail is all here. Because of its scale, if you ever saw what I did to the Revell Chinook, we super detailed one of them. We did the cockpit completely again. We did all the hosing and the wiring all down the rear end. We did a refueling bay with it all opened up and everything else like that. So it is possible to turn around quite a basic kit and give it that nice level of detail as you go right the way through it. But certainly for a 1/48 scale Osprey, doing something like this, you know, it is the only one on the market at the present of doing this review. I imagine because it's going to be a mainstay and pretty much going to be in service for a long time, I should imagine. I imagine somebody's going to come along and probably do an absolute pucker one in the future. But as far as I'm aware, I don't know if anybody's got one on the plans or on the books or even the design stage at the moment. So you're going to be about a year, 2 years off, even if they started it tomorrow. So certainly, you know, if you're going to do an Osprey, you're going to do it 48 scale, Italeri is the way to go. So yes, as I said, the chances are by the time you've done all that work on it, somebody will release it in 1/48. Which is always the way. I know loads of guys who have built models recently and they've gone and super dealed, and then they find out that, you know, Trumpeter or Hobby Boss have just released it or are about to and are absolutely crying in it. Or certain people I know who did Vigans, for instance. They're all out now and everything else. But anyway, it's one of those kits. It's the only one of its type and its scale, so sometimes you have to bite the bullet. And as I said in that little thing, I think it would really lend itself to being a lot of scratch building. Okay, rescribing work, there's not tons on it, but certainly I think you can need a lot of references. I can get you reference photos for this one, or get round one if you can, and see about some of that riveting. I'm not sure it's covered in rivets as is described in this kit, would have you believe, and everything else. But as you said, it is an old one. It is basically a prototype that's been upgraded and everything else like it. But as I said, something a little bit different. Anyway, SIGs and Group Build news. Now, I will need my bit of paper for this one. Okay, so the star of the silver screen, don't take notice of what it says on the forum. It is going to go on to the 31st of May, which should just allow me enough time to get this thing finished, which is quite handy, and everything else like that. So we've got some great entries going in with that one. Don't forget, everybody who takes part gets the medal. There's going to be the prizes. Don't forget, we're giving away the Zucamori Sky Raider and all the accessories that go with it. It was worth about 250 quid. We're giving away an F-14 Tomcat in 1/48, Hobby Boss one for second prize, and third prize is getting that 410, I do believe, the ME 410, the Meng one. So there's great prizes, but don't forget, everybody who takes part is going to get the medal anyway, in the nice flip-up display case and all those things. I am hoping to have the stickers sorted out for this one by the time this comes up as well. So if the stickers are in, everybody will get a free nice Flory Model sticker, probably like that one, but a little bit more updated, because we're sort of changing it a little bit. So there's plenty going on with that one. After that, the D-Day SIG is going to start. SIG, it's actually a full group build, okay? That's going to start on the 6th of June. It's going to run 6 months. Got lots of time with this one. Originally, the guys were just saying it was just Operation Overlord and Overlord type stuff. So it was always going to just be the Allied stuff. Personally, I think we ought to bring in the Access now, forces and everything else, and have the German side and everybody else is in as well, because quite frankly, you know, we're all friends now. And I think it should be, you know, more of a sort of homage to everybody who took part in the battle, rather than just keeping it one side or the other. So I've adjusted it slightly, that I think it is open to all sides involved in that particular conflict. So don't forget, Steve has done quite a simplified instructions on how this works. So go in the forum, it's got a full section in there and everything for you now for the D-Day area. Pop in there, you can see the criteria and the rules for it. Basically, you must not have started, and we will be spot checking, okay, and everything else like that. And then obviously we want to have nice continuous build photos as you make your way right the way through. So don't just sort of, you know, here's the box and then there's the finished item, because that's not going to cut it. Okay, we want it to be in there so you've got some nice photos all the way through. And don't forget, it is a community type thing, so you can do shout outs or help other people out as you go right the way through the builds, as with all our group builds and SIGs. So let's get going with that one. So get all your kits all lined up. You can start putting your entries in now into the forum. That area is unlocked and open to you, so you can start talking about it, discussing it and everything else. But just please get these ones done. Let's get the actual other one finished. That's normally why we have a gap in between them, so it gives us enough breathing space between. But we want to get the silver screen one definitely done and out of the way. The Royal Navy Fleet Air Arm SIG is currently going as well. You've got until the 6th of July to finish that one. Some great entries in that one. We're going to look at that one next week. And then we've got, after that one, we've got a couple coming up. We've got the Tiger SIG, okay, this is the armour side SIGs, okay, that's going to run from the 24th of May to the 14th of September. So basically anything armoured fighting vehicle, Tigers, I presume any of the marks, I'm not too up on those ones to myself, but any of the versions of the Tiger you can actually do all the way through there. Then after that, the one that I can't pronounce, which was pointed out to me by almost everybody last week, is the Post-Apocalyptic Vehicle Mayhem SIG. Blame Dave, he came up with a name for it. I just have to read them out here, okay? So anyway, that one is starting on the 5th of July, not June, as I think I said in last week's show, or the week before show, because I got that slightly wrong. But you got the 5th of July, that starts, is going to run to the 26th of October. So as we said before, think completely out of the box with this one. We're thinking here things like Mad Max type thing, you know, World Gone Crazy. So also you can do certain things like in war zones, you see technicals, as we call them, like 4x4s with a gun on the back and all the rest of it, and you can armor plate them up and stick a rocket on it or whatever you want, stick a tank turret on it. Whatever you think would work goes on this one. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and I've got a Hilux up there which I'm going to do something for on this particular one, because I really like the idea of this particular group build and everything else. So that's your group build and SIG news to get on with it. Also, don't forget, put your name down for the prize draw. And to be honest, again, because it's not working, I can't tell you who actually won last month's, but somebody did, and it is in the forum. And sorry about that, but as you say, I didn't write it down. So anyway, we're going to go through. We've got here is the reveal for the 4th. It was our 4th year of doing this one for the annual egg stroke anything you like, it seems to be SIG build that's gone on for our Easter special and everything else. So here's a look at your fantastic work. Great work on that one, guys. As I said, it was a shame I didn't have time to get into it this year. Did last year and the year before, but this year certainly no chance. But great to see your work. And what I do like about it is when people think sort of out of the box, okay, and they take it that little bit further. You know, like Dougie's A6 in the crash scene. Brilliant, with egg yolk coming out the bottom. It's little tiny bits like that which actually make it a lot of fun. And some of the weathering on them as well is absolutely fantastic as well. So as you said, it's one of those things you can have fun with it. You can just chuck it down and have a laugh. And that's what we do every Easter with these things, not to mention all the terrible jokes that go with it, which I'm not doing any. Okay, so I'm going to leave you with one of those amazing builds this week. This was, Rob did the AT-EEGST, which is the Scout Walker from Star Wars. But you have to imagine this thing, you might not have noticed, is completely scratch built, okay? And this is why it's well worth seeing this one as a photo build here on the end of the show, because you can see exactly how he took it from a plan and then put it into an egg and made it look so absolutely spot on. I think you could just build normal Scout Walkers without being egg shaped, and you could probably market and sell them because they're absolutely brilliant. So he did a great job on that one. So that's it for this week. I'm going to leave you with that until next week, everybody. Happy modelling and take care, and I'm going to do some airbrushing.